Ugh.
What? We're not Aaron. What's going on?
What's happening?
Hey, everybody. Nick Birch here.
Dustin Blaze here. How are you
Dustin
doing?
Blaze. Aaron is actually traveling today. He's heading to the airport and is on his way to Armenia for the Reanimania Film Festival.
That sounds like a long flight.
Yep, it's 24 hours of travel for
Holy
him.
moly.
And we are actually going to be joined today by a very special guest. And Tim, you're on screen. Tim Hodge, everybody.
I'm
Hey,
here.
Tim.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I am honored to sit in Aaron's virtual chair.
So for people who don't know Tim, Tim and Aaron have been friends for what, over 30 years now? Something like that?
Yeah. We met in 93, I guess.
Lion King?
So, yeah, 31 years, yeah.
Was it Lion King? Was the first project?
Well, yeah, it was first feature. I was working on with Aaron on the Roger Rabbit short, the Trail Mix-Up.
Okay, cool.
I wasn't on his unit, but I did get to work with him a little bit on that. The famous scene he talked about, he's demonstrated with Roger's the Pendulum. I helped clean up part of that.
Oh, that must have been a fun one.
Yeah. But more fun, he did one of the scenes of the mom character, one you just see from the waist down with her
the legs,
skirt and the polka dots. Getting
Oh,
those, they didn't slide around because the first version, when you're in betweening, you have this polka dot, you forget which polka dot is which, so they just kind of move around the skirt. Like, no, that one's supposed to. We had to redo that one a couple times.
wow.
We put a course out recently from Joey Mildenberger, who does it's a 2D effects course, and he did this animation with a whole bunch of bubbles. And he's like, yeah, I just labeled my bubbles like A, B, C. So in each frame, he knows.
Oh, that would have been smart.
Which is which. So yeah, and then you just erase it all.
You should have done that. Yeah. See, we weren't effects animators. We were just. It was
well, we were talking to him like, how do you keep track of that? Like, if it's like, this big undulating mass of bubbles, how would you possibly? And he said, yeah, I just labeled A, B, A, B, B, C, C.
Makes so much sense.
Yeah, I had to do some of that back when I was working in commercials, and you didn't specialize like that. You had to do whatever came up. Oh man, it was. Luckily, I didn't have to do it a lot, but yeah, smoke, bubbles, wind, right? That stuff that's not for me. My hat goes off to.
Yeah. I want to set it up for people who might not know you and about you. Tim is.
Not everybody knows me.
No, I know. They're
I know. I feel like when Johnny Carson was out and Joey Bishop was sitting in. That's how old I am. Nobody gets that reference. I've known Aaron for like over 30 years. Started at Disney in '93 and worked with Aaron on Trail Mix-Up. I don't know if I worked directly with him on Lion King, but we were in the same area. I sat near him. Then I got promoted. I went from in-betweener to animator. Worked briefly on Pocahontas, and about that same time, Florida was gearing up to work on Mulan. And there was a time I was supposed to work with Aaron on his character, General
Bao Gung.
Bao Gung, yeah.
The villain.
And then Bao Gung died early in production, so the character, not the voice actor or anything, the story didn't.
Yeah, they changed it to.
And I was about to be animated, but then I had been talking to Barry Cook, the director, the year before about going into story, and he said, "Hey, we've got an opening if you want it." So I think, yeah. So I went into storyboarding at that point. So I was a story artist on Mulan, and worked on John Henry the short after that, and then rolled off right into Brother Bear. So I was working with Aaron again, and I was on the first trip to Alaska with Aaron and Chuck Williams and Bruce Johnson.
Yeah. What I also love about you, Tim, is you seem to have been the photographer of the group, because you've posted a ton of cool photos over the years. If anybody doesn't follow Tim on social media, you should. It's on Instagram. It's just Bald Melon Tim, right?
I just Bald Melon.
Bald Melon. BALDMELLON. Bald Melon.
Just one L.
One L.
Oh, sorry.
You said two L's.
I type.
Spelling's not your strong suit.
I do typos even when I say things out loud. So But Bald Melon on Instagram, you can
Yes,
follow
that's a
me.
reference. When I turned 40, I put together a blues band for my birthday party, and we were Bald Mill and Tim in the midlife crisis.
Oh, I like it.
Then when Instagram came out and like, what's your handle? Like, I don't know. And I didn't know, I didn't think about it sticking professionally, and I probably should have chosen something else. But there
Well,
we
I
are.
don't know how you came up with Bald Melon, but I like it. It's memorable. So.
Well, yeah, and it was, I had read somewhere that good blues artists have to be named for a malady, a fruit, and a president, like Blind Lemon Jefferson.
I like it.
So I went Bald Melon, Tim. So I missed the president part, but yeah.
Yeah, close enough.
One day we'll have a president named Tim.
So today, Tim is going to be doing some drawing for us. For people who don't know, Tim has a number of courses on our website. He's got courses on how to draw cartoon animals, how to draw cartoon people. He's got a really fun DIY animation course where he teaches things like flip books and zoetropes and all kinds of fun little things there.
It's quite fun.
And then he recently just put out, because we're in October, which a lot of artists know as Inktober, we recently put out a pen and ink course with Tim. It's about 20 hours long. It's got over 17 lessons available in it. And he takes you through all kinds of stuff, how to do comic strips and drawing on toned paper and doing color washes and cross hatching, all kinds of fun stuff, stippling, all kinds of pen and inks techniques. And in that course, we also, when we put that course out, we also put our own prompt list for Inktober, our own Tim Hodge Creature Art Teacher collaboration. And Tim's been doing a bunch of those drawings, as have members of our community. So today we thought, because Aaron's traveling, we would have Tim on and he could go ahead and do some live pen and ink drawing for us. So
yeah, which is scary because what if I mess up?
Yeah, well,
There's no edit button.
Without further ado, I'm going to flip it over to you, Tim, where people can see your downsshooter. We can go ahead and start.
Okay, yeah, I'm working. I'm gonna be working on tone paper because I haven't done that this year in Inktober. So I thought, well, it'd be a nice special shift for the stream in here. So I'm going to be working. I just made this decision this morning. I'm gonna be working with a dip pen, which is scary because what if I mess up? What if it gloops? What if I spill the ink in my lap? But living on the edge here, man. But so I thought I would do my Inktober drawing for the day. I haven't posted anything yet, and the prompt today on the Creature Art Teacher prompt list is claws. So I was trying to get enough, when I was coming up with the list, enough prompts that seemed a little Halloweenish, trying to get something that would lean to something scary or monstery if you wanted to do that. But then every other one is something about nibbling or Pixar or something. But claws was a good one, and I thought, well, what do I want to do? That's always the stumbling block for a lot of people. What do I draw? What do I draw? And the prompt list is supposed to help you get over that block. I have to do something with claws. Like, well, what about claws? Do I want to do a cat? Do I want to do a dragon? And then I thought, how about Santa Claus? I can do a reference to Nightmare Before Christmas. But then, while I was eating breakfast, I thought, what about bear claws? The pastry. How about a bear eating a bear claw? That way we can have claws, bear, a little more double meaning. I like to do drawings, especially from a prompt list, that incorporate more than one aspect of the word, if possible.
I do like that you're good with your puns, and hopefully people can hear me better now because I realized I never turned my microphone back on.
Uh-oh.
Welcome back.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a couple of quick sketches here this morning, just trying to have a bear on my scrap paper that I use when I'm inking. So I've got a bear eating a bear claw, and a cup of coffee, maybe a plate of other bear claws. And this may change once I start doing the final. I come up with other ideas or figure, it'd be better if he was posed this way, or maybe not have the plate. And I've got my ink ready. I am going to be using from Kuretake, their black ink 60. I don't know if they make other kinds. I really do love this little bottle. It's kind of squat, so it doesn't tip over on your board. That's always the danger of working with ink, spilling it. Most ink comes in a taller. No, that's right up my desk.
Aaron just joined us in the comments, Tim, and said it's really weird to be on this end.
I always thought your end was very weird, Aaron. But yeah, the other bottles, all the ink tends to be squattier at the bottom, so it doesn't spill. But this one I like because it's really wide based. The only drawback is it gets shallow very quickly, and sometimes your nib can't get as deep as you want. But I like the ink; it's very opaque. It doesn't, but at the same time, it doesn't clog up and dry too quickly in your pen. I'm going to be using this. What's the brand name on this nib? Nika. It's a Japanese pen nib. It's mainly it's used for manga mostly. Shoot if I get the name of it here. I found this because I was looking up, trying to find what Charlie Mackesy uses. Charlie Mackesy, you may recognize the name. He's the author that did The Boy, the Hedgehog, the Fox? Oh no, the Mole, not Hedgehog. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And I love his drawings and that the line quality he gets going from very thin to very thick. I thought, how does he do that? So I wanted the same kind of pen to see if I could get that. So, but he never publishes it anywhere. This is a pen nib. I got it's Nico. Yeah, the Nico.
How do you spell that?
Nikko. So can you see that okay?
Yep, there we go. Got it.
And I have no complaints on them whatsoever. I've been using them ever since I started doing the course. But they do have a nice variance in line. They're very flexible, and pens tend to become more flexible as you use them. They get a little weak until they wear out. But yeah, this one's at a good spot. So yeah, and I'd have some also Kuretake white pens for doing highlights. Another plus of working with toned paper. I also have Prismacolor doing if I wanted to do white highlights as well. I know Aaron uses a different brand white pen, doesn't he?
Yes, I think it's Sakura is the white ink that he uses. Sakura. It's a Sakura jelly roll typically.
Okay, I haven't been able to find that one. I was using
and then
Art and Fly.
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend it.
And then he uses for his brush pen, he uses a pen called Bimoji, Bimoji, I believe.
Oh, I'll have to try that one out. Yeah, I got some white ink to use with a dip pen. It's a calligraphy ink from Windsor.
Nice.
It's not great for drawing. It works really well for calligraphy, I think, but when I've tried to draw with it, it doesn't have quite the consistency I like. You may like it. Try it out. It's not too expensive. Generally, you can't go wrong with Winsor & Newton. But every media has to find its niche with each artist. So I'm going to keep that reference drawing just out of camera range. And while some people do like to go straight into ink, I like to have a little underdrawing here. Something feels under there. There's something under my, there's that crumb under my paper. Not that I was eating here and spilling a mess on my drawing board. There. Okay, yeah, I was going back and forth here too between two different bear designs, just to show you my thought process. Here his muzzle's a little bit thinner, and his eyes are closed. And I wonder, well, what if his eyes are open? Do I like that expression more or less? And I do like a slightly thicker muzzle. I was trying to just vary my character design because I kind of have one bear that I draw a lot, which I try to keep very different from my professional side because I do a lot of storyboards for a company that does Masha and the Bear, the kids films, the kids show. And of course, their bear has a specific design, and I draw them a lot. I got to make sure I don't, when I'm drawing bears on my own, it doesn't start looking like theirs. So that was one attempt. Like, well, if I can change up the design and get farther away, that'll be better. But then he starts looking like Boog from the what are those films? The open season films.
Oh yeah, yeah. My son loves Masha and the Bear. For anybody that doesn't know, it's a very popular YouTube channel. I think it's also on Netflix now.
Yeah,
I think it's been,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, it's real popular around the world. It's a lot of visual humor. The only person that talks in it is Masha, the little girl that lives in the woods, and then nearby lives a retired circus bear, and there are a bunch of other woodland animals. And she's the only one that talks, and which makes it easier, I think, to translate because it goes around the world. But storyboarding it, most of the acting it's not dialogue heavy, which is, when you're storyboarding dialogue, it goes fast, but it's not real exciting.
I would imagine.
Yeah, so doing the
I've
planning of action.
I've got a few questions here, but I'm gonna let you dive into drawing first, and then I'll
I can answer questions while I'm talking. So
Real quick, Dad says, goodbye, everyone. Break a leg, Tim. Off to finish packing and heading to the airport.
Oh, safe travels, Aaron. Good luck in Armenia animation.
Reanimania Festival. Let's see. So a question we had from Zerna, the zebra, was, have you ever worked with an ink block?
An ink block?
I think that's
like Sumi ink, the one you have to grind.
Yep.
No, I haven't. I've wanted to try it, but I haven't been, bold enough to splash out for that, because that's like, what if I don't like it? Then I've spent money on it. That's why I am with every.
We used them in college. I got to play around with them once because we were doing that sort of Sumi style ink work in a class, and they supplied them to us, and so I got to use it for that, and it was pretty fun. It's a really neat way to transport ink, because when you're done, when you're done, it's a solid block, so you don't get as much of the spillage and all that stuff. But once you're into it, it can actually get messy pretty quick. So
the thing about a hurdle I have anytime I try a new medium is like, well, I don't know which brand is best. I don't know if this, because I tend to go kind of cheaper because I don't want to put a lot of money into something I'm not going to like. But then I end up having a brand that's not good, and I get turned off of whatever it is. Like, oh, this wasn't very good. Oh, you need to try this brand instead. So any recommendation for brands, I appreciate. And that's what I try to do too in these lessons. I try to tell my successes and failures with different brands, so you can not have to bear the expense of experimentation any more than necessary.
JS Pookie Hop asks, hey,
JS.
Do you do ghosting before you draw?
Ghosting?
Ghosting. I believe that's like doing the rough, like drawing with pencil.
Oh, like an underdrawing?
He's doing one right now.
Yeah, I tend to do that a lot. And sometimes I don't, but usually I do. Most of the time, right now I'm doing it because being on camera, I want to make sure I limit my chances for failure if I can plan something out. Because if I'm just drawing, on my own, I might just get an ink pen and start, drawing and just see what happens. And sometimes it's fun, and sometimes there are mistakes. But I didn't want to make my audience endure any chance of that today. But sometimes experimenting like that, it comes cool.
Have you ever, Tim, this was just a question from somebody who wanted to know, you mentioned that you had been on the Alaska trip with Aaron. Have you ever gone to Africa or any safari type thing?
No, I haven't. That would be fun. I haven't done a lot of international travel. In fact, Canada, but I don't know if that counts because it's, attached.
Yeah.
But I went when I was at VeggieTales for a number of years. We did a lot of our production in Canada, so I would travel up to Toronto or Vancouver a few times, and that was fun. I did go, not for professionally. I went to Scotland back in 2018, and then I went with Aaron and Barry Cook, and I guess it was just, and Max Howard. We all went to Moscow for an animation symposium that our friend Sasha was putting on.
Oh, I forgot you were on that trip. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And that's how I met the Masha and the Bear people, because that's a Russian production.
Oh, okay.
Sasha put me in touch with them, and they took me out to dinner, and great people. And yeah, I've been working with them since like 2019.
Earlier, you were mentioning of Japan with like the anime and the manga style using the certain pen points, but have you been influenced by any Japanese comic artists?
Sadly, no. I think I was first introduced to manga when I was a lot older and a little more set in my ways. I appreciate the styles quite a bit. I'm not I don't read it a lot, so I can't say I'm a true fan by any means. But no, I'm fascinated by it and wonder like, how do they do that? But I haven't been that influenced, I'm sorry to say. I just realized I had his arm too low. Another reason I'm doing an underdrawing and not just off the cuff.
So for people just joining us, I want to let them know that we are, Aaron's look has not changed dramatically. Aaron's not with us today. We are being joined by our special guest and good friend, Tim Hodge. I'm Nick Birch, and I've got Dustin Blaze here with me. We're playing host today. And Tim is one of our instructors over at our website, creatureartteacher.com, where we've got his courses along with Aaron's. And we're actually running, today is the first day of our 13 days of Halloween sale. So we've got, if you use promo code SPOOKY30, that's SPOOKY 30, you can take an extra 30% off any class, brush, or tutorial order. And that includes Tim's courses, cool. Aaron's courses. And we're going to have new sales running every day from now until Halloween. And we've got over 750 hours of courses there to check out.
Cool.
Spooky
So this
30.
is kind of like this live stream is kind of like a QVC episode.
Pretty much, yes. You're learning how these work, Tim. This is what we do.
Okay, for the newcomers too, just to let you know, I'm using a dip pen. I am using Kuretake ink. And what I do love about this little bottle, I mentioned before how it's kind of very squatty and doesn't turn over. The lid, I don't know if you can see this, has these little divots in it on either side, which are a perfect resting place for your pen when you're not using it.
Oh, very
nice.
Cool.
And if you can see on the down shooter too, I do have, this is on my drawing board is just shelf liner, from hardware store. So things don't slide off because my drawing board is at, a slight angle and things end up, coming toward me. And that's scary when it's permanent ink.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Pen and ink drawing for Inktober, everybody.
And this is my Inktober drawing for today for the newcomers. And the prompt we had was claws. So I'm having a bear with claws eating a bear claw.
I like it. Tim is always good for a solid pun. That is for sure.
Sorry.
Oh no, I love it. I'm a dad. Dad jokes are my favorite type of joke. So, Tim, I want to ask you, a lot of people don't know this, in addition to being an animator and a storyboard artist, you also are a director of animation. You directed a bunch of 3-2-1 Penguins and Veggie Tales.
Yeah, when I left Disney to work at Big Idea, I was installed as a director, did, oh my goodness, I don't know how many episodes. Well, when I first started there was in 2000, and we were putting out 3 episodes a year, 2 or 3. So I was doing probably 1 episode a year. And that went on for into 2008 or so. Oh my goodness, it was a long time. But then eventually, I left and started going freelance. I'm trying to remember what a bear claw pastry looks like. Um, but I was asked back to Big Idea when they got a deal with, it was after they were bought by DreamWorks, and they got a deal with Netflix to do a series called VeggieTales in the House. And that was like 3 seasons of 22 episodes apiece. And I directed a third of them. So there was a lot. We were putting
Wow.
out a new episode every probably 6 weeks, and there's overlap. I mean, a new episode would start every week, and there was a lot of overlap production. And so, yeah, that last couple of years of my association with Big Idea, I did more episodes than I had in the previous 8.
And then there was a movie too, right? A VeggieTales movie, the Pirates one.
We did a couple, yeah. We did Jonah. That was the
Okay.
first one. That came out in 2002, was it?
Mm-hmm.
And then a few years later, we got another deal. We did the Pirates Who Don't Do Anything movie. They were popular characters.
I can't recall. Did you direct one of those? I can't remember.
No, I didn't.
You were just
The first film, obviously, Phil was going to direct. Phil and Mike
Okay.
did because they started the company. And I was in talks to direct the pirate one. So I'm drawing the little almond slivers in here. But Phil really liked his script, and I had some issues with it, and I knew I was going to lose all my battles because the company was going to side with Phil.
Hmm.
So I thought, I'm going to preserve my friendship and my sanity, and just like, I'll be head of story. How's that? And
Yeah.
Mike direct.
Nice.
So
You also did quite a bit of voice work, right? Both on
a fair
VeggieTales.
amount, not like Phil and Mike did.
Yeah.
I came on occasionally. I did. I think the first one I did was Khalil and Jonah. Yeah, I was directing The Star of Christmas at the time because we had overlapping production because we had to keep up our video releases. But they were having a very difficult time finding the voice for this worm character. It was like the first non-veggie or plant-based character in the canon. But in the Book of Jonah, there was a worm mentioned, and Phil fleshed that out to become an actual character. But he had envisioned him as being this Pakistani worm, and wanted that accent, and had trying to cast it. Even talked to some a Pakistani or an Indian. No, it wasn't Pakistani. It was an Indian pastor to see if he could pull it off. But I obviously had the voice, but didn't have the acting chops. And on a whim, I said, let me give it a shot, because I go to Indian restaurants enough, and I was able to replicate it, and probably wouldn't go over very well today, just because you should hire, don't cut out nationalities, and imitate other cultures and things like that, which
Right.
it's quite valid. I'm not railing against it. But yeah, I got nominated for an Annie Award for that.
Yeah.
And I lost to DeVay Chase, the voice of Lilo. So
Oh, okay. Wow.
that's fair enough. So
Yeah. Oh, Lilo's a great voice, although. Oh wait, Lilo, not Stitch. I was thinking Stitch for a second. I was like, wait, Stitch
yeah,
doesn't have that
yeah,
many
yeah,
lines.
Chris wasn't nominated. I was up against I was DeVay Chase and I forgot his name. He did the voice of Captain Hook in the Peter Pan sequel, Return
Oh,
to
okay.
Neverland.
Return to Never.
Is
Yeah,
that the name of it? Return to Neverland, or is it
Yes.
something
Yep.
else?
Yep.
Okay.
Question from Julia. I'm having trouble with my fountain pen. I just added a new ink cartridge, but it won't come out the nib. Do you think
Oh,
it's
I hate
clogged or
that.
something?
More than likely, I have that trouble too sometimes. Sometimes putting a little bit of water on the nib to loosen it up, because if it's sat too long dry, sometimes that little filament does get a little dry. Not too much water, because then it makes your ink runny. But yeah, I have this brand I like it, except it does dry out from time to time. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. No, remember the brand, and I can barely read this. Hong Diane Forest. It's a really good one. The only thing I don't like about it is it doesn't have a great variance in line. I want to find one that goes thick and thin, really thick.
Which is what
Those-
you said you like about this particular fountain pen you're using.
Yeah. And I love fountain pens because they're more portable and you don't have to take a bottle of ink with you.
The
Why they
cartridge
were-
pens, you mean? Yeah.
But
So-
yeah, one with a flexible nib cost like, $150, $200.
Oh,
more.
really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know some of those inks, especially the Japanese inks, can get extremely expensive, like thousands
Yeah.
of dollars for some of them,
Oh,
which is wild.
you already know I'm not going to spend that much on ink.
Oh, me neither. I mean, but a lot of them can be quite pricey. But I was watching a whole special on Japanese brushes and Japanese inks one time, and they were just the way they make them is the same way they've been making them for thousands of years or hundreds of years.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like,
it's just such an art form to.
yeah. And
And I
so,
love that they're made, that there's so much care and they're not machine made, and that they're being inspected at every
Right.
point. Somebody's looking at every little movement.
and that's kind of the value, right? Is like, it's the scarcity because they're not mass produced. So you're,
Right.
I
There are other
had,
brush companies that do that, but yeah,
I had a Twitch question, which I thought was a funny one. Aaron has told the story many times about the pranks that you played on the him and Travis, and
Yeah.
he's told the story many times
That
about
was
putting
wicked.
the coleslaw into your stack of
Yeah,
animation paper. What was that like from your point of view?
it was interesting. Should I retell the whole story just so people who haven't heard it?
Yeah, you can fill us in while you're drawing.
Okay,
You don't have to.
we had catered lunches often. If there was some meeting that went on over lunch, there was catering brought in, and usually as a side dish there was this big aluminum tray of coleslaw, right? and side note, you could always find a free lunch somewhere at Disney if you knew where the meetings were. If you would wait till after lunch, you could eat the leftovers, which is kind of what leads into this. There was a tray of coleslaw, and I thought, well, this is going to waste. Nobody's going to eat it. So I took it, and my desk was Aaron and Travis sat beside each other, and my desk was in front of Travis's. And I took the big aluminum tray of coleslaw and hid it in the cabinet behind Aaron's desk. And I don't remember if it was that day or a day later. He found it because he's going to, through the cabinet to get some paper or something. And he's like, "What's this?" And I turned around and went, "What?" What's this coleslaw doing in here? Like, "Oh, that's what Travis was doing." Okay. So he got mad and hid it in Travis's desk. And then later, Aaron wasn't there at the time, and Travis comes in. "What's this? What's this in my desk?" Like, "Oh, I saw Aaron rooting around. He must have done that." So he hides it better, deeper in Aaron's desk. And this goes back and forth for a couple of days. And finally, I'm there drawing one day, and Aaron finds it again in in his cabinet and just throws a fit. Yelling at Travis, like, "Cut it out! I hate it!" You start calling him names, and he makes a big show and throws the tray away, and I just kind of ducked down. Like, I caused a rift between brothers. 2-3 weeks go by, and I'm drawing. And I have a stack of animation paper on one of my shelves. I'm pulling it down, and I'm noticing the paper is starting to get warped in the middle, which it doesn't happen. Like, that's weird. I thought maybe Florida is getting more humid than I thought. I'm like, anybody else notice anybody else's paper getting warped? And like, no. And with every sheet I pull down, it's getting more and more warped, and then I'm noticing a smell, and some fruit flies and
Right.
things. And then it gets so bad, I lift up the paper, and in my stack of paper, it's probably like at least 1.5 inches or 2 inches thick, paper, a ream. Aaron, I found out, had carved in a square, like like you're hiding something in a book, carved out a square, that half inch at least of paper, and lined it with saran wrap and filled it with the coleslaw and let it sit, and then waited till I was back at my desk to make his big show, which I thought he was actually mad, but he played it really well.
That's
And
funny.
say goodbye. And so they got me back. They had figured out what I was doing. And then like, we'll get it. Food pranks.
That's hilarious. So the best part is I didn't know about Aaron doing the fake show about throwing it away. I never knew that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that either, I don't think.
Which was real believable at the time too.
Never.
Brothers. I've got a brother. I know what it's like. Yeah, I wanted to make sure when I was holding this bear claw, I wanted that kind of waiter flair with his, just holding it on the tips of his claws, not, grabbing it or not letting it sit in the palm, but just kind of on this little tripod of his claws here. One is I like the pose, and another is I wanted to emphasize claws. That's the prompt. So we have bear claws, and a snack. And it's occurring to me how many of my Inktober drawings this year have to do with food. The one yesterday, the prompt was nibble.
Uh-huh.
And I had an elephant and a mouse sharing a donuts over a coffee.
Speaking of which, if you want to follow Tim on social media, it's Bald Melon on Instagram. So at Bald Melon. And also, we've been posting his drawings over on our members only Discord server, where if you become a member to Creature Art Teacher, either a monthly streaming member or an annual member, or you take advantage of our new lifetime membership, you can get access to our Discord server. And as a matter of fact, when we're done with this live stream here, we're going to take about a 15-20 minute break, and then we're going to hop over to the members only Discord server, and we're going to follow up doing a special stream for our members. That'll probably be 30 minutes or so over there. So if you want to become a member at creatureartteacher.com, it's a great time to do it.
Do it.
Using his fur texture is a little bit of shading here. This is a fun pen. It does get very thin and very, very thick. I think as much as I love like Charlie McKessie's style, who did the book, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, I don't think I could ever do that. I don't want to. Everybody needs to find their own voice. But my style is mostly influenced by, the artist of my childhood, like now I've got Wallace Tripp or Jack Davis, Beatrix Potter, Dr. Seuss to a point.
Tim, have you ever worked with Rob Minkoff? Or Minkoff, sorry.
Not yes and no. I mean, I was on Lion King, and he directed Lion King. He was one of the directors on Lion King, but I didn't interact with him personally. Wait a minute, I did once. He would not remember me at all. He was visiting the Florida studio, and I had this gag idea because at the time the story was leaning even more toward Hamlet references. There were some of the dialogue was very close to a Hamlet line and just a little bit off. And I had this great idea, I thought, and I had sent it in. I'd done some storyboards when would have been at the point of the film after Simba's run away and Scar is taking over and announcing, I'm going to, Mufasa's dead, I'm your new king, kind of thing, but in his false, grief. And I thought it'd be funny to cut away to Zazu, and he knows something's up, so he's suspicious, and he says, there's something rotten in the state of this den, mark my words. state of
Bonds.
Rotten, the
Yep,
state of
yep.
Denmark.
Yep.
And I thought that was hilarious. And so I had sent that in, and Rob Minkoff was, like I said, was visiting. So I said, "Oh, Mr. Minkoff." Well, I probably said Rob because everybody's on a first name basis there. I said, "I sent in this idea. Did you get it?" Like, "Oh yeah, we get it. Got it." And, we thought about it. It was real funny. We'll see if it has a place. He really nicely, basically said no. Get it. But he was kind about it at least. He didn't like. Yeah. Did he? He directed one of the shorts, the Roger Rabbit shorts.
Oh, did he? I didn't realize.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was the second one, the Roller Coaster Rabbit.
After Lion King, didn't he shift over? He started doing didn't he do those Stuart Little movies? I think he kind of shifted.
Yeah. And I think he did the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion.
Oh, okay. My son loves that movie.
I think that was him. Yeah, and Trail Mix Up, though, speaking of Rob Minkoff, there's a scene near the beginning where Roger sees a caterpillar and freaks out that there's a bug, and he grabs the bug spray and starts spraying it around everywhere. You know, the old-fashioned can where you have to pump it, and it's got the big canister on the tube and spraying. And the name of the bug spray is Mink Off.
Ah, nice.
It's only on camera for probably less than a second.
That feels like almost a Warner Brothers.
Oh my God,
gag.
that cartoon is so full of in jokes and things that are only on camera. You have to pause through on the DVD.
Speaking of movies, Richard on Facebook asks, since Tim is talking old Disney stories, ask him if he still has a copy of the short film Pitch Stick that he made with that he made with Pam Matthews. Tim did an excellent Billy Bob Thornton in that.
Did. Oh, do you know? Does he know Pam?
If he has a copy, he needs to share it on his social media page.
Yeah, that was fun. That was while we were working on Mulan. Was it Mulan? Yeah. The movie Sling Blade came out, and if you remember, it was a real low budget film. Billy Bob Thornton spent, I think, under $1 million making it, and made a gajillion on it.
That was a big hit.
He had developed this character, Carl Childers, who was has a very unique face. And just, I don't know if I can still do it. I want some of them French fried potatoes. And the character had gone through a very abusive childhood, was made to sleep in a shed, and without going into too much detail, his parents met a horrible demise at his hand. And no, his mom did. And some might say it was justified. But anyway, that was people noticed that I kind of looked like Billy Bob Thornton at the time. He's lost a lot of weight and I haven't. So, but I could do a Carl Childers impersonation. So I got together with Pamela Matthews, who was a breakdown artist at the time. And yeah, I stay in random touch with her. Occasionally we'll message on Facebook. Yeah, I have 2 of her pastels hanging in my dining room downstairs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and because in the original, they made the film, Billy Bob Thornton originally made like a 10-minute short, which he reshot and it became the first scene of the feature film. But the short had Molly Ringwald in it, and she was a journalist coming to interview Carl right before he was going to be released from a mental facility after serving his time, and he got to tell his story. So we took that moment, and Barry Cook was in it. Barry played himself, but what would have been the hospital administrator. And I rewrote it instead of being about Carl killing his mom, it was about Carl getting rid of a song in Mulan, because originally Mushu had a song. They wrote 2 for him, and neither one of them really fit. So I did this thing about Carl they're trying to put a song in for that dragon feller where a song just didn't belong. And I replicated some of the dialogue and changed it. And I shot it in actual film on Super 8 film, and the folks in the editorial helped me out edit it. I put the original soundtrack from the film on it, and we showed it at dailies, and everybody loved it and expected me to talk like Carl Childers for weeks after that. You're gonna do the voice. That was a joke.
That's funny.
But it also got me a gig on for another film. And, when we were doing near the end of Mulan, I had an idea for doing a mockumentary about the making of Mulan, and I pitched it to Tony and Barry and Pam Coates, not Pam Matthews. Pam Coates, the producer. And they said, "Oh yeah, okay." And they gave me a budget and said, "Do that, and we'll show it at the wrap party." So I did a little parody.
Oh, that's cool. Like a parody making of or behind the scenes.
And we had one cleanup artist, a guy named Tom DeRosier, who bore a striking resemblance to Jeffrey Katzenberg. And this was probably a year after Jeffrey had left Disney and started DreamWorks. So I had a scene in there where Jeffrey comes in and interrupts an in-betweeners meeting, and a kung fu fight breaks out. And I did all the bad dubbing, and we hired some of the hired, I don't think we paid them, some of the actors, the stunt actors at Disney MGM to do the kung fu for us. Yeah, and it was pretty funny.
That's awesome.
And we had one of the artists got Jeffrey in a headlock and said, "And where's your Prince of Egypt now?"
Although I stand by Prince of Egypt, that has turned out to be a beautiful movie.
Oh yeah.
We were such a good job.
This was probably just before Prince of Egypt came out that we knew they were working on it.
Right.
But it was a friendly rivalry from our standpoint. I think professionally among the executives, it wasn't so friendly, but all the artists, we knew everybody that worked over there.
So you went in with some white ink a moment ago, and now you're doing colored pencil. Is that correct?
Yes, this is the Kuretake, the Zig marker by Kuretake, and it's actually a brush pen. It's got a felt. You can see that very well. It's got a felt brush. It's a brush tip, but it's not bristles. It's got like a very flexible felt tip.
A little bit like a marker pen almost in a way.
Yeah, but I can get close to the camera without spilling everything on my desk. You can see how it really bends.
Oh, nice.
These have some markers like this. We call them slug pens because they look like slugs. But it doesn't get quite I guess I probably could do a real fine tip. No, the lines aren't terribly thin.
So that's why you're mixing it
for putting the highlights in the eyes and on the nose.
And you get a nice non-streaky white pen.
But for everything else, I think I'm going to use Prismacolor, because this paper, which is just the toned sketch paper, or is it charcoal paper? Strathmore's toned paper, and it's got just a perfect amount of tooth for using a white Prismacolor on. And hopefully this will look like a bear claw pastry.
So another thing I want to let people know about, last week, or the first Friday, we normally do our live streams the first Friday of the month. So this October, we did one, the couple weeks ago, the first Friday in October, we did a stream where Aaron created a print to raise some money for those that were impacted by Hurricane Helene. And that's gone really well. And we've raised a decent amount of money for the Red Cross as well as some other local charities. And we've still got some of those prints available. And we actually got quite since then, we've had a whole second hurricane and Milton down here in the Southeast, and quite a few people were affected by it. So I want to let people know, if they go to creatureartteacher.com/prints, or you can scan the QR code that's up on the screen right now, you can get a copy you can get a signed copy of the print. We've still got several available, and 100% of the profits from that we're donating to help those that are impacted by the hurricanes. And they're kind of small probably on your screen, but there's a couple of photos of some of the damage and the flooding that actually occurred in our local neighborhoods. Thankfully, we were okay, but my house is right down the street from me, got pretty well flooded and trees down everywhere. So if you're able to help, go on over to creatureartteacher.com/prints, and we appreciate it. There's also a donate button on this YouTube video where people can donate directly to the Red Cross if they'd like, if you're watching on YouTube.
Adding white to a drawing, not to change the subject drastically.
Oh, no, go for it.
How do you follow up that?
Yeah.
I want to be careful not to add too many highlights to change the focus too much, because I'm wanting to keep the viewer focus obviously on the bear's face and what he's looking at. I'll probably put some more highlights on this bear claw because it's kind of at this point fading into the background a little too much. But I did want these down here to show up. I hope they do look like bear claws.
Yeah, I mean, for a cartoon version, I would absolutely say they look like bear claws.
Okay, but I've eaten enough. You think I know what they look like?
I'm always disappointed that bear claws, the pastry, don't look more like an actual bear claw. When I finally saw what they were, I was like, wait, that's not what I imagined them looking like at all.
Yeah, I was trying to get a bear claw the other day. I was at Panera, and I had my rewards number, and they said, "Oh, you get 20% off a pastry. You want something?" I'm like, yeah, my wife loves bear claws. I love bear claws. Give me a bear claw. I'm like, oh, we don't have those anymore.
Oh, what?
I'm heartbroken. Like, how could you discontinue bear claws? It's
blasphemy.
a staple.
Peter on Twitch says, I could really see some Dr. Seuss drawings being done in your style. Yeah.
I'm a big Seuss fan and copied a lot of his artwork as a kid. In fact, when I was real young, I had this book. I don't know if it's still in print. It was, of course, in my mind, because I was very small, it was huge. It was probably 11 by 17. And each page, it was a how to draw book by Dr. Seuss. And each page had, like, he drew the back half of a creature and said, draw the front half, or I did the front half, you do the back half. And he would always leave something to fill in, like, or does, like, I think the first one was like, draw this guy on a boat like I just did. I being Dr. Seuss. And then from there on after, it was like, finish my drawing. And it was always more and more for the kid to do. And then the last page of it was just a big frame. And it was like, draw whatever you want in this solid gold frame. It's yours. And like, that was one of the best books I ever had on drawing.
Huh.
And I've had one.
I just looked it up. I can't find it. Yeah. It looks like it might be long out of print. That sounds like really.
I wish I still had mine. That would have been.
I'll have to check on eBay for that one.
Yeah, I still have books I got when I was like drawing books I got when I was like 5. I had one, those, though, I guess Walter Foster is still publishing, right? Those how to draw books. Back, do they still make them that are real big? They used to be like 24 pages long.
I remember that. I don't feel like I've seen the big ones in a long time, but I remember.
Yeah, I think they might start making them smaller to fit on shelves better. But I still have one I got when I was, I don't know, 4 or 5, and it was how to draw and paint birds. An illustrator named Lynn Bogue Hunt. Far beyond what I was ready for, but I was copying all those drawings of hawks and eagles and geese. And it was really good. I hope I picked up something from it.
Real quick, what is that? What is the white pen that you're using?
The what?
It's a Prismacolor pencil thing.
Oh yeah, this is just
pencil.
Yeah, regular white pencil.
It's a white colored pencil, Prismacolor brand.
I think just
I got-
got done with it.
I've got a question. Well, one is an art related question. Do you ever use the back side of the Strathmore paper since it has less tooth? Some of the,
I don't think so, because
Yeah.
usually I'm drawing out when it's still in the pad.
yeah.
This maybe it's like, I mean, when you said that, I paused, like, is this the front or the back side?
I've never noticed it. I've never noticed a difference, but I imagine it probably does. Yeah, that's. And
Yeah,
then this is not an art related, well, not a directly art related question. Someone asked, have you ever met any of the 9 old men, and do you have a favorite as an animator?
oh, the favorite is hard because everybody, all of them have great work that I admire. I did meet Frank and Ollie. They came to the Florida studio a couple of times. I used to, before I started at Disney, I had I started writing Ollie, and he would write back, and I would send a Christmas card, and he'd send his Christmas cards back. I still have them. He drew his own Christmas cards, and I think most of them I got tucked in my either The Illusion of Life or the Bambi book. So when I met him in person, that was like, remember me? We trade letters. Oh yeah. And so probably I think just because I had more of a connection with Ollie, I would say he's my favorite. But
Yeah.
thinking about art, the animation style or whatever, like I don't know. Every one of them has such great work to admire like that.
Yeah, I know Aaron always says probably Milt from a technical standpoint
Yeah.
is just,
Yeah.
just pretty amazing. But yeah, they've all got, I mean, they're not the 9 old men for nothing. They've all got,
Right.
you know.
I did meet Mark Davis too. He came to the studio, and I had met him before at some film festival. I got him to sign something, but that was in the dark, and he wouldn't remember me. But yeah, well, he wouldn't remember meeting me at Disney either. But I can't remember what I got him to sign at that time. But I wish it had been that book, Chanticleer. Disney in the '90s, Disney put out a children's book about Chanticleer the rooster.
Oh, okay.
Was all the artwork was from a film that had gotten shelved years before about Chanticleer and Renard the fox. And on the title page, there's a drawing of the fox, and of course they're anthropomorphized animals like in Robin Hood. In fact, it kind of led into the production of Robin Hood. So there's a fox there leaning on a cane or an umbrella, and I didn't realize it at the time, but when you got Mark to, because they're all his drawings, when you got him to sign that book, he would draw a cigarette in the fox's fingers because that's what his original drawing had a cigarette in it, and then when they published the book, they erased
Edited that out. Oh, that's
It's a
funny.
children's book. You can't put tobacco products in here.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense.
Even though they did that all the time in the old films.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Pinocchio's got that stogie. And
It's funny.
while we were working on John Henry, there's a company-wide memo from Roy Disney, and he said he didn't. Oh no, that was a different memo. But we did get a memo saying that no more alcohol or tobacco in our films because this group had listed all the tobacco and alcohol in family films over the last 50 years, and of course Disney, having put out most of them, was the greatest offender.
Right.
And I think it was Dumbo.
It's interesting.
Pink elephants bit.
Oh yeah. Well, it's interesting because Aaron always told a story about Roy Disney that there was no smoking at Walt Disney, but he would come in and just completely disregard that rule and smoke.
Yeah, he got away. Well, his name was on the building, so it didn't apply to him.
Yeah.
But it happened more than once. He'd come in and you'd hear somebody stand up, go, "All right, who smoked?" Oh,
yeah.
Oh crap.
Yeah, one guy just started packing up his desk, like, I'm fired. I know it. What's today, the 17th?
Today is the 17th. Yep. And for people who don't know, again, this is we've got our own Inktober prompt list, and today is October 18th, so the prompt is claws. And if you want to get this prompt list, you can go to creatureartteacher.com. It's right on the homepage.
I said October 17th. I've got to turn the 7 into an 8 on my drawing. There we go.
Oh, did I? Oh, yeah, I just.
You confirmed my wrong guess.
Yeah, I do typos of the mouth all the time.
Yeah,
Oh
originally,
yeah, people are in the comments going, "It's the 18th. It's the 18th. It's the 18th." I'm
thank
sorry.
you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, about Roy smoking. You know that on the animation building in Burbank, the hat on the front, that was originally, it's not anymore, but that was Roy's office.
Oh really?
And yeah, and they had built this terribly expensive filtration system in there so he could smoke in his office. And long about the time I don't remember if the building was completed or almost completed. Roy's wife, Patty, had a heart attack, and she what
He was just rolling into the shot.
and she was fine, and she didn't. It was not a terribly serious. She should have survived, but the doctor told him and said, "Well, a contributing factor is secondhand smoke." So Roy quit smoking like that.
Really?
Just cold turkey, and they'd spent all that money on that filtration system, and like, yeah, don't need it.
Yeah. Well, hey, I guess it's better than the alternative. So yeah.
Yeah,
Good for him. All right, so we've got this one done. It is.
Yeah.
It's 2:00.
this is claws.
Very nice. Very nice. We've been going about an hour. Do you have another drawing in you before we switch over to the live stream? I'll try not to, or the member stream.
Well, how much time do we have left? So I could probably do something. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
we
got
got a
this
half
part
hour.
of paper.
We're gonna go about another half hour here on this stream, or
Okay. Yeah,
we can also
another.
do a little show and tell. I know you've got some stuff in the course.
That
as
sounds
well.
better. Yeah. Show and tell. Now we talked about some of my animation career and other Disney and VeggieTales and some freelance stuff. I also used to do work for DVD or Netflix DVDs. Remember when they used to mail DVDs to you? And they just stopped doing that last year. I would get to design their holiday mailing envelopes, Christmas and Halloween, and I just pulled out some of my Halloween ones.
Oh, very
Sure.
fun.
And I loved working on these, and I think they're appropriate for Inktober too, because they are just pretty much very simple. They're pen and ink drawings, all digital, but still, in effect. But they're so fun to do, to try to figure out the balance of, black, white, and red to create to do a clear composition and get your attention where you need it to go. This is, I think, my favorite one of my very favorites. 'Cause I love it. Just kind of
The contrast.
fun
Yeah.
story. It's a fun story, and it creeps me out. It's like I knew that thing lived under my couch too.
So you would do Christmas ones and Halloween ones, basically seasonal ones, right?
Yeah, for not every year, but see, when did I start working for them? Probably 2014, I think it was. I started doing it because originally I was I would draw on my regular Netflix envelopes, and before I sent them in, because there was a blog on Tumblr called Doodleflix, and people would post their drawings on Netflix envelopes, and I did a lot of them. And then the Doodleflix parent blog interviewed me, and then Netflix called me and said, "Yeah, we love your work. Would you like to do some for real?" Like, absolutely. And in fact, they sent me a photo of their collection center hub. Yeah, and there's in their break room, there's a big bulletin board with all the fans' artwork pinned up on there. They collected them, and a lot of them were mine. This one was fun too. Like them. That was one of my first ones. I love the zombies are big in my house.
And so for people who might not follow, you did these illustrations on regular envelopes on your own personal accord, and then Netflix saw it and they liked them so much that they commissioned you. And then so these envelopes that you're showing here were actually
these are print. These are what everybody got in their mailbox.
These were mass produced, and so if you ordered a DVD from Netflix in October, you might have gotten one of these at random, essentially, right? You should let us know in the comments if you ever got any of these. I'd be curious to know. And you did dozens over the years, right? Because
at first I was doing like 4 for Halloween and 4 for Christmas, and they cut back. Let's do 3 this time. So
right.
And then at the very end, I got one last hurrah. They did a book about Netflix and the whole history of sending DVDs from their very first one. Which the very first DVD they sent out was Beetlejuice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll win a bar bet. And but the book, it was like a giant coffee table book, and each chapter heading, they originally were using film stills from famous movies to introduce whatever the portion of the company they were talking about, but then realized we don't have copyright privilege, permission to use these film stills. So they called me up like, I know you just finished what you thought was your last job. Would you like one more? Like,
Yeah.
absolutely. Now that was fun.
So now that's probably worth talking about a little bit. A lot of people, who are watching the stream are aspiring artists or students or, and you've kind of had an interesting career because you've done the studio thing and then you've been independent. And now you do a lot of freelance work, both for animation and illustration. And how has that always been, how do you go about finding work and getting jobs and negotiating and is there any
Oh my goodness, I wish I had better advice because I suck at that. That's the hardest part about a freelance life, is about finding work and billing and being your own IT person. And I am, out of a 40-hour work week, I'm lucky to get 20, 25 hours of actual drawing in,
because you've got to handle the administrative stuff.
Yeah,
right?
or just, I think it's everybody talks about how hard it is to work from home, and I think we all discovered that during the pandemic. But because your dog needs to be walked, or I go to the bathroom, I go, oh, that doorknob's loose, I should fix that, and then oh, I don't have the right thing, I need to go to a hardware store, and my ADHD kicks in, and I have drawn that day because I needed to fix the bathroom doorknob.
Yeah, but
And
but you've done a bunch of interesting different projects, like you said, and they've kind of, part of it's been obviously because you're dependable, so you continue to get work because you
that you try not to miss deadlines, stay in touch with people, network with not only with companies, but stay in touch with your artist friends, because I've gotten a lot of work that way. I had somebody who can't take on a job. They're like, I'm talking to the people over at Renegade. They're doing a new Tom and Jerry show. Could you do some storyboards? Like, yeah. So, and then of course working with that company, like, oh yeah, well we're doing another series of this DC. They had a web series on the the DC superhero girls. They're in their high school, so I storyboarded a couple of those, and from that, I have a friend that's like, oh, we're working at Warner Brothers, and they were looking for people. Hey, Tim, we need some freelance help. Would you like to work on Scooby-Doo? Like, yeah. So
Yeah.
I did 2 episodes of which iteration of Scooby-Doo was it? Guess Who Scooby-Doo, where they had celebrities meet up with the team. So I did the one with Wonder Woman and one with Weird Al Yankovic.
I remember that's kind of an interesting combination, Wonder Woman and Weird Al Yankovic.
Well, they were different. They were different episodes. But
I always tell people, like, I've had that, there's the theory of compounded interest, like over time, if you leave money in a bank, it starts to accrue interest.
Right.
I've always said there's sort of this thing, I've always called it the theory of compounded business. So like over time, if you keep plugging away, you start to a certain amount of time, you start to get this feedback loop where you've done enough work that it starts to lead to enough referral work, that it starts to lead to more referral work. And that's kind of, if you can get through that lean time, eventually, if you're dependable and reliable and you produce good work, it starts to snowball and that exact thing of, oh, Tim would be perfect for this. And there's enough people out there that you've worked with that start to just send stuff your way,
Yeah, and that's a lot of it. I haven't had to do a lot of self-marketing, which is good because I'm not really good at it. But for me, it's been staying in touch with other artist friends, and that's how I've gotten the gig at Warner's and one at Renegade, which was, they were working for Cartoon Network. But even the stuff I'm doing for Masha and the Bear happened because Sasha, the guy we worked with in Florida, invited us to Russia to speak at his animation conference, and then I got to meet with people there and like, yeah, would you like to work for us? Yeah. In fact, with the Masha crew, I even did a week-long kind of I guess what do you call it when you talk to people? Workshop, but or lecture series with their artists. And because which was interesting. Most of them speak English really, really well, but they had a translator too. So they got, and I think they still play those videos because they recorded the whole Zoom meeting.
Oh,
And,
terrific. So they play them for people that are coming in.
yeah, so it was kind of an abbreviated version of the storyboarding class I did with a creature art teacher.
Oh, okay. Speaking, which is a good segue. I was going to mention this for people who don't know. We're running a sale over at Creature Art Teacher. We've got our 13 days of Halloween. Today is day 1, and if you use code SPOOKY30, you can get an extra 30% off any class, brush, or tutorial order over $15 or more. And Tim has a number of courses on our website, including a pen and ink course, which just came out and is on sale. And he also has a full course on storyboarding for TV and animation over there that you should check out. That's really a great course. It's one of my favorites. And I went ahead and switched to your downshooter, Tim. I see you've got some art there.
Yeah, this is from the pen and ink course. I just pulled up some of the drawings that I did for that. So if you haven't taken the pen and ink course, I don't have it. This is the stuff you'll be in store for. These are not in order. So I go through, well, part of my teaching style on this is whenever I've started any new lesson, I can get frustrated if they start out too basic and I can lose interest, or I want to skip ahead and then I skip some important information. So I start out with some fun stuff that you can get a finished drawing before we go back and like, okay, now we're just going to practice doing cross hatching, and shading on a sphere. So I go back and forth a lot, and this is the one of Aaron's Snow Bear, using thick and thin and just line, no shadow, no cross hatching at all. Working with, again, no shading, but using just the four lines to indicate shape. And I do cartoons and realism in this series. Using colored ink and using like white on the color and the color on the white paper too, kind of going back and forth. Was that one in the series?
I don't think that was in the course. I was going to say that's a cool
Oh, it wasn't. This is what I think I did this right after it because I like the ink I was using in the lesson. Like, oh yeah. Oh, and this is when I was doing comic strips. I re-inked a comic strip I did in high school because the drawings were so bad, but I thought the joke still worked. So I recomposed it. Had to do it twice because we had some technical problems, but improved it, I thought. But that way I could tell the class now what wasn't working in my amateur stage and how I can improve it and make it work better. Working with watercolor over ink. Oh, there's my original. It's all yellow.
How old were you when you did that originally?
Let's see, 1980, I would have been 16 or 17.
I was born in 1980. So there we go.
Oh my goodness.
That paper is as old as me. That's funny.
And you've aged better than the paper has.
I was going to say the opposite. I was going to say it's
I was being nice. Oh, I don't think this was on camera stuff. This is just me practicing for things like this.
Yep.
Doing basic shadow and going through different types of shading, cross hatching in different methods, drawing faces and details. Want my plans on that. Drawing with lots of shading, drawing with no shading. I prefer doing this, doing just the minimal. I love artwork that has very little information in it, and line work, but has your imagination fills in the gaps. It's kind of like when you look at patterns in carpet and wallpaper and you see faces and shapes. That amazes me.
And that was a lesson on getting shiny objects in.
Yeah, shiny object, reflective and wetness and drawing effects, basically. Oh, here's some rough sketches for doing.
Yeah, you've got a lesson in there even on getting an ink look in Procreate, and it's a lot of fun.
Yes, I redo this drawing in Procreate digitally.
Yep.
Because even though it's a pen and ink course, it's not anti-digital work. I love
Absolutely.
digital work, but I also love, oh, there's the one from the course. Yeah, I also really love analog. I think it's and I think it's good to know both, even though most of all my professional work these days is digital. But I think you get better at digital if you hone your physical skills. It's kind of like if you're an athlete, if you train by wearing ankle weights and things like that and make things harder for yourself when you do get on the courts, it makes things easier. Oh, there's a shading with a marker. Using fur textures for shadows. Oh, this one was fun. This was this is a lot of lessons in one. Posing and using contour lines to show form with the stripes on his shirt, using solid blacks for shadows. And, after I did this, I was staring at it. I said, that looks like a lot like a Jack Davis drawing I remember seeing in Mad Magazine ages and ages ago. I probably mentally had that logged away and inadvertently copied it.
That's funny. It's like musicians do that all the time. Like, oh, yeah, what do you think of this chord progression? And then you're like, oh, that's Tom Petty. You just stole.
Yeah. Well, I did that during Brother Bear. I was pitching the bear fight sequence, and there was one particular drawing I remember falling in love with. Like, oh, that pose, that's what I wanted. It's got so much power in the bear. He's got this twist on his body, yeah. And then I was pitching it, and Aaron looked at it and said, oh, that looks just like that painting by, I don't remember who the artist was. I was like, what? Yeah, there's a painting of a bear hunt. There's some dogs around it. And I was like, crap. Yes, I know that painting. I love that painting. It had lodged in my
Subconsciously, yeah. It's funny. All that stuff can creep in.
Well, it's like the song "My Sweet Lord." George Harrison. He got sued for that because it sounded like was it the Shirelles that did "He's So Fine"?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Listen to them side by side. They're
They're very similar.
Even the do-lang sounds like the hallelujah.
Yeah.
So every time that plays, they get a cut of it too. Now these were sketches. This is when I was trying to mimic Al Hirschfeld's style, the master caricaturist. I didn't get anywhere as good as he is. Where's the final on that? Oh, there it is. Yeah. So it's kind of the hand looks a little Hirschfeldish.
Yep.
But,
Yep. Very fun. Yeah, so for people who don't know, you can get Tim's course. It's on sale now at creatureartteacher.com. It's still 50% off for a limited time. We're keeping that price through the month of October to celebrate Inktober. And we've got we've got over 750 hours worth of courses, including a bunch by Tim over there on the website.
Yeah, some of mine
So many.
kind of aimed at kids, younger kids, but adults like them too. I probably have more adults taking my quote unquote kid courses than actual youngsters, and they love it. So
yeah, well, I mean, they're that was the whole intent with those courses, was they were designed to be accessible by all ages. So we've gotten tons of great feedback. People love your teaching style, and we've really enjoyed having them on the course. And this new pen and ink course is tremendous. So thank you so much for putting it together. And thank you for joining us today on the live stream. I'm not wrapping up yet. I'm just
so fun.
Yeah.
I missed not catching up with Aaron, but I will eventually. But
we'll have you back.
I hope I filled his shoes nicely.
You've done great. We'll have you back on when Aaron is here, and maybe we will go ahead and wrap up here. I want to let people know a couple of things before we do. We've still got the 2 biggest deals of all time over at Creature Art Teacher. You can actually still get our animation mega bundle and our lifetime premium membership. Those are both limited and on sale and helping us finish our animated short film Snow Bear, which we are rapidly coming to an end on. In fact, in 2 weeks, we're going to be out at Skywalker Ranch recording the post-production mix sound effects stuff, which is going to be fun. And then, we've got Tim's course, like I said, on sale. And we've also got our Dustin Blaze here. And we've got our 13 Days of Halloween sale going on, of which today is day 1. And you can go use code SPOOKY30 and save 30% off, an extra 30% off any courses. And for those of you that are members to our website, we're going to take about a 20-minute break here. And then we're going to jump over to the members only Discord server. So if you want to join us over there, or if you're a member, you can watch in the Creature Art Teacher app as well. So we'll be back up and live in about 20 minutes for those. And for people who just joined us here, you can watch the replay on Facebook and YouTube and what have you. So Tim, thank you so much for the time.
More than welcome.
And let's show the drawing you did today one more time if it's accessible.
There it is.
There it is. That's what we did today. Thank you for taking the time to do
Dropping
that.
claws.
Drawing
Bear claws.
Bear claws. Bear claws.
Bear claw.
Yeah, you got to vote.
Hey, boo boo, you want a bear claw?
There you go. I like
Oh, I
that.
should have done a bear dressed as Santa Claus. Bear claws.
Ah, that would have worked too.
Bear claw while eating a bear claw.
Maybe we'll do that in the bonus over on Discord.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
So, anyway, thank you, everybody. We want to thank you, Tim. And we're actually going to do another guest instructor live stream in about 2 weeks with Tony Cipriano. He's going to be doing some ZBrush monster sculpting for Halloween. He's got a course on how to make monsters, and we're going to have him on as we get a little closer to Halloween. While Aaron is traveling, he's in Armenia. If you're going to be in Yevren, I believe is how you pronounce it, he's going to be at the Reanimania Festival. And go on over and check out Tim's courses at creatureartteacher.com. And thank you, everybody. As Aaron would say, put some beauty back in the world. And we'll see you next time.
God bless you, Bob.
Picture.